Welcome to our lovely future humans, to our 5D collective, to those who are cultivating emotional resilience through self led practices, and that's self reflective, mental, emotional, and physical mastery. And if you're curious, Pay Hip Store, journal prompts, and inner growth mindset practices. And also, you love to expand your window of welcome and tolerance. I have an edge too, working with it. My judgmental asshole. And happy Valentine's Day. So, we're going to celebrate some love today, and that's the human awakening kind. So, we value science and spirituality, we know human evolution, and you can tap into more of you. Okay, so first, you are aware, so you expand. When you meet inflated egos, that's the kryptonite of the human awakening. It's the ego, but the inflated kind, which is insecure. You're going to meet that which becomes, I know everything, I've arrived, or just a defense mode. And so we leave it alone because the 3-year-old that isn't a 3-year-old is a teenage asshole of a person who didn't get taught good manners and they don't want to play. And so everyone plays the game of life differently. We get to play with the 3-year-olds who are self leaders. That means differentiated selves. And so you have the harnessing of your nervous system. And with that, you have the freedom of free will. So while some will say determined, Robert Sapolsky's book is the proof of the proof. It's one, qualitative, if I believe, analysis, but two, some of us know of free will from one, God, two, from the capacity for me to be present, aware, and also loving and resonating and connected within myself. And so with that, where is it, Dr. Dan? Personality patterns. I don't know if you know Dr. Daniel Siegel, but when you own your brain, this is what happens. You own the personality patterns, the temperament, secure attachment. So integrated brains, we laugh. That's why we're like the sages, which is why when you meet the ones who are so boring, they're not being ordinary and embodying intelligence, they're being ordinary and boring. But we will leave that for another time. In the meantime, the principal ingredient of life is love. Physicist Thomas Campbell shares that too, but remember, please, it is when you embody healthy fear that you also embody love, because your body does know how we all have the human secondary consciousness and primary. And while for some it's a dilemma, for us it's not. It's our condition and ability to expand and become more embodied people. Be yourself. And there you go. So activated or not, doesn't matter. You're like, okay, I'm going to bring my A game on. I got 24 hours. My habit is now. My one bad habit, I still don't do good with my physical exercises. As for the wine and the cigar, it's moderation. Healthy food, nutritionist diet going well. So treat yourself right. That's what grown-ups do. So the freedom of free will. The stars are not etched in stone. Your fate is not fixed. Free will is your embodied intelligence, your ability to meet life as it unfolds. The unknown, the unexpected, the unwanted, the wanted. Yes, the wanted too. Your power lies in how you think, how you speak, how you regulate, how you choose. Awakening does not remove challenge, it refines your response. In fact, actually, we don't really have a challenge. We have more of what is called opportunities. The edge of growth, in fact, besides your own edges, which are not your enemy, whatever you get tightened with, that's where we get to continue softening. And so you work with flexibility, adaptability. What was it? Faces, coherence, faces, and the E I'm forgetting at this moment. Dr. Dan, shoot. Elasticity, maybe, and stability. I forget the E. But yeah, when you're an integrated brain, you're easily working with all this stuff called your personality patterns and temperament, by the way. And then you maintain your secure attachment. So you have fun and you don't think of grief as that's pseudo-aliveness. The edge of growth, where there are opposites, there's opportunity. To people, to belief systems, science and spirituality, masculine and feminine, the energies, but also, by the way, you have your own masculine. Well, this is the feminine, and this is the masculine. Divine, excuse me. This is the masculine. This is the feminine. That's how I'm bringing it to you. And there's no rule book, but that's because embodied stuff comes up and your body's always right. And when you're not being led by your subconscious, meaning your amygdala and 14-month-old, you're ruling yourself, you're always going to be the vehicle of Well, my subjective truth for sure. As for when I'm downloading and channeling, yes, for the 5D collective, I am a messenger for those who are going to be of our 5D collective. The 4D, 3D, they believe there's energy vampires, dark auras, Lucifers, monsters, and there's none of that. But that's for another time. So I have plenty of stories, my twin flames, I have soulmates, oversoul, I have traveled multidimensional, all of it, you name it. You just don't know all the stories. So the edge of growth, I continue. You can collapse into, yes, ego, or basically modulated dorsal vagal embodiment, or modulated dysregulated embodiment, instead of that, which is this. So 5D is in this. And only people who think it's impossible to be emotionally steady under activation don't think we're here, which is why we're future humans. This is what we get to embody. So embodied intelligence is why we know winning is about love and smarts. And, well, there's also this. Hold on. So we're not afraid of reading more books. We also like to start reading up-to-date books of academics, smart ones, and also the other ones, because they're still smart. And that's why, again, 2 people, 2 belief systems, we read all. Or instead of collapsing, you can expand into integration. And that is how you do more integration, with eustress and with you working to become more flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized. There, I remember, Dr. Nan, and stable. Woohoo! So I love his acronyms because they help me remember. Oh, and you keep your adolescent essence. Essential spark, social engagement, novelty, creative expression. So you don't become a boring old fart. You never become a Hook, and you're never a Peter Pan who believes Wendy is a grown-up, or the Lost Boys. You're more of a wise version of a Peter Pan and a Wendy, and you're just not Hook, and you're just not in any of that superhero, supervillain stuff. But if you do have to choose what's kryptonite to human awakening, it's ego from the egoic, insecure people. And you can still spot them like a hawk. I do all the time. Okay, but don't worry. They are... I'm going to quiet, Maria. I am going to be quiet right now. So, growth happens in your decision-making, yes, process. I want to do that. I want to do that. We're doing the diet. I got intrigued. That's because you don't have self-shit. You see what I'm saying? It's called self-worth. You know what health is. I'm still with one bad habit. I don't drink enough, 2 bad habits, and I don't do enough physical activity. But I'm working on it. I acknowledge. Okay, great. Awesome. What do you acknowledge? What's your weakness? Not kryptonite, because again, kryptonite would put you on your knees in a way of not you getting back up, which doesn't happen to the 5D collective. You know that, right? Yeah, your edge. I'm sure your edge gets you to expand. Have you ever seen anybody with kryptonite? Let me think. I'm having a visual, but that's from Terry Reel's Unhealthy Boundary People. I'm not going to give you it, but he has 2 sides. Over here we have the avoidance. Over here we have the anxious. And over here we have grandiose on the top, and then on the bottom, manipulative, desperate. And I've met all of the types of unhealthy self-worth people. It's not funny. They really could use Terry Reel. Okay, so with that being said, growth happens in your decision-making process, in the thoughts you choose, in the regulation you practice, but you know regulation skills. Otherwise, there's no point, even if I use the word, as Dr. Bessel van der Kolk points out, you can't talk sense to a person. And someone who's dysregulating doesn't know the difference, as they didn't learn self-regulation. And that's why God sends his children to each other, because that's why it's not true that opposites attract, but you better bet that empowered divine feminines will meet all of those who are other, and when we're with our empowered divine feminines, we're going to have a fun time. And those are emotionally mature, self-sovereign leaders who, under activation, with our emotional steadiness, will think it's not an image we're trying to preserve. We're just healthy perfectionists who say, wow, I don't want to copy the mediocre, very unnecessarily behavior of all of that. They're completely not discerning. They're not equanimous. There's no wisdom. There's no clarity. I think there's an wait, they think I'm pretending. That's how it works. Don't worry. You don't have to defend your position. I'm learning how not to defend my position as I speak to you all on this day of love, dedicated to one of the most amazing feelings, which is the art of love, of Eric Fromm says it's a verb. So I still love my teenage boyfriend and his partner of life. And those who want to think I make fun of them because I tell you our stories, no, I tell you the truth about the stories. And I love all of my exes, because otherwise I would never have been with them. You don't cancel love because you've changed the dynamic. When you meet tarot readers who say, if the ex comes back, they want to fuck you, don't believe they don't. Maybe those who are immature and who have low self-esteem, I don't know. I'm really not sure how to handle this one. No, I'm sorry. They didn't grieve the breakup appropriately. That's probably what it is. Like my facade friend who didn't grieve after 14 years, he got left and he got into another relationship. Then he got left, but that was like through ghosting. They had preserved everything. Then he got into another relationship. Luckily, he learned what love is. So, anyways, my point was love always wins and you always love and nothing changes except for the dynamic, because the bond is what you build. And so, between people who grow, safe haven, secure base, polyamory, monoamory, doesn't matter. Polyfidelity vessels are pretty awesome. Hearing that there are people say, you're not poly enough is not fun. I hope you understand. We're not whores. No, you can't marry all of us. No, we don't want to all fuck anything. But at the end of the day, someone saying you're not poly enough makes me understand why. We still have stuff going on. Also TV shows, shitty TV shows with their drama triangles. I mean, every time I used to watch more TV shows than I do now. Now I barely want to watch any of them. I used to say, why do they have to ruin it? Criminal Minds, great one. At a certain point, I'm like, okay, really? CSI, again, really? Okay, seriously, why do you have to what is this? I just want to watch the show that's doing the investigation, not what this is. If I wanted to stick to soap operas, I would have stuck to them. I watched Beautiful for some time. I watched all those. Okay, so enough. Let's conclude with growth happens in your decision-making process. And the thoughts you choose, the regulation you practice, the things you watch, the habits you take, the music, all of it. This is exactly why self-led practices. You enjoy them, but you also enjoy expanding people. Because seriously, isn't it boring when you meet the inflated, insecure egos who get all tight and whatever the fuck's going on, and it's like, okay, seriously, we can't talk about this topic because it's too much. But then again, sometimes it's me reminding myself right here, we're here to be safe haven, secure base to each other's, not childish. So sometimes people just want a place to share what is important to them. That's why you catch the judgmental asshole. For me, not the inflated insecure ego, but for others it's the inflated insecure ego. And it doesn't really matter which one it is, but you don't bring it in. You say, I'm going to work to create an adaptive strategy. So the journal prompts, the inner growth mindset practices, they're not for ruminating. They're not for pretending to do work or, no. It's actually you refining your regulation skills, your discernment, the capacity to know we're all imperfect and flawed. We can all sound like jackasses, but we all do move forward. And so you're not a pattern on a wheelhouse. That's why we do dharma, not karma. The ones who are pattern, by the time you get through, you'll see people's patterns. They don't change. Now, like my facade friend, they're oblivious and they don't care to become aware. So that's why they call them emotionally immature, and the therapists have a lot of them at this point taught online for free. One lady has a model for how to handle them. Another lady works with the parents, thank goodness, because I am happy for the children and the parents, but I'm happier for the children than the parents, just because, I'm happy for all, but I'm thinking of the children. That's my 3-year-old. I just want the children to have fun in life and become their beautiful self. Not get into self-observation. It's discipline. Oh my God, please stop. You're sounding like a scary monster right now, which I don't want you near me at all. That's exactly how it feels when you're allowed to play and have fun and be an angry little butthole. I don't like your sympathetic. I don't need to be near it. There's no bear. There's no reason for it right now. And I can't say any of this stuff to these people because that's the minute of truth. They don't care. They're in their grandiose, contemptuous butthole. They were modeled that. They're replicating it. They become a pattern on a wheelhouse. You just have to leave it alone. because otherwise you're going to waste a million years trying to tell them what just happened, and that's another like really boring thing to do. Yes. So you leave it alone and you allow yourself to remember, though, they're 5 hands like my facade friend. All they want is to be loved. Some will say, but Maria, like they did on Nutshell Ladies thing, this sounds tiresome. Like, excuse, I don't remember what words. I'm like, okay, really? I mean, they didn't choose to have emotionally immature parents or whatever the fuck. They didn't choose to not know how to self-regulate. Yes, now they're choosing, but they're not really choosing. They might be working with. We don't know. You can't make them all go to therapy. They don't all believe in therapy. I mean, we got flat earthers, please. They don't all believe in delusional people either. They're following them around. In fact, it's hilarious to a person that is embodying, yes. Come on, say with me. What are we embodying? Intelligence. It's grounded in reality, people who have the capacity to discern, because our subconscious doesn't rule us. Our conscious and subconscious are aligned. And when you see a pathology, you're like, okay, yeah, good therapists. Go find them. But they don't want to come to you. They don't. So really, So my point being, you don't convince anyone, like my facade friend, that their manners are biologically rude. And you won't. And especially because they'll justify, meaning condone. So when someone condones their maladaptive patterns of behavior, that is what the difference is. That's that ego and the kryptonite of human awakening. They're not going to awaken. They're going to stay their teenage version. It's a loser, L, because it becomes boring, a Gargamel, and really it's, I saw everything, I know everything. Okay, sure, whatever. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't do it that way. I'm doing it that way here because you can't tell them, like, okay, I also, let me pause myself. Because when I get treated like that, I don't like it. Do you like it when people minimize your feelings? Now, there's a difference with people who are ruminating, who are basically on a wheelhouse, but there's a way that you can work with them to bring them online. If you're already online, I've done it without even knowing that I was doing it. Then I got to explain. I was like, okay, wow, that's what I was doing this time and this time and this time and this time. And so when people like to vent or they're ruminating in a way that is basically you're not productive with your emotion, you're just using a small window tolerance and you're not doing any personal growth or spiritual growth. But it isn't my place to force them to either. That's the part of why you are aware and expanding yourself, and they're the opportunity, because you don't copy the mediocre behavior. You also try to remember, I have an ego too. I don't put my ego first. I don't have to put their ego first, but if I'm in this interaction, I don't want to be rude, do I? I don't want to silence them. I don't want to belittle them. I don't want to dismiss them. So the practice is to bring your A game on, to be a better version of yourself, a better human. Kind person to another. You choose kindness or unkindness. A very simple directive. Thank you, God. So that's it. And open-hearted. And so is it going to be, oh, but I always have to do it. I don't want to do it. I mean, hey, if you want to not do it, don't do it. You're going to be as equally weak as they are under activation, just FYI. And what life now? And you're not going to have done anything for yourself. So don't journal. Don't do the practices. You might as well not, because you're not putting your A game on. It seems like you're trying to make us get over it. So this is what some people think. So while I'm being in an interaction, a terrier will say subjective opinion, subjective experience. You listen, because that's what they're wanting. You're now servicing your customer service. And I'm like, well, okay, I get it, but no. I'm a person, they're a person. We both have self-sovereignty. So if we're all grown-ups, we all know how to handle grown-up. If we're not, okay, then I'll cater to the child, let it talk. It's not a grown-up, it's a child. And then I'll be out. But I'll be catering my day-to-day based on the emotionally mature, stable, under any kind of circumstance manners, you see? So love is where we do want everybody to feel safe in their mind, safe in their body, be in a flow state. And so you welcome. That's where the 5D collective will accept that, yes, not everybody is able to maintain that, which is awareness, want it, observe, expand, or become the best version of themselves. So we won't make them. And that's the part of where you don't want to be the petty one, not for an image, because once your left understands the science, you don't think, I don't want to be the better person in my ventral vagal state because another person is actually not able to self-regulate because they didn't get it, and because they're being defensive, inflated, and secure ego. I don't have to down-regulate myself. I differentiate, I self-regulate, here's my mui, and there you go. And nobody fucks with my biosphere. So the mui is from Dr. Daniel Siegel. You differentiate, you picked up a room, you are present, attuning, resonating, trusting, because that's the whole point of why his acronyms work. Because I'm flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable as a whole human being who knows personality patterns, temperament. Yes, I want a fucking beautiful, happy life. That's consistently always, because there's no catastrophe going on. Dark matter, dark energy hasn't imploded, and I'm pretty sure that we will be great because of the embodied intelligent ones, of course. Not the mediocre ones who sound like jackasses to Maria. And right now I'm a judgmental asshole again. But yeah, you better bet I see them as they flock to each other. I've never looked up to cowards. I did do, like every other teenager, bullshit shit. Very small lived. This is why I'm a judgmental asshole. And I don't look back and think, oh, I would change myself. I'm laughing right now. No, my facade friend, the only man I yelled at in the face. The reason why I yelled at him is because 3 years after a serious conversation, the only time he gathered and mustered up the courage to say something that he believes in or not was in front of me in a group with a conversation with other men, boys. They're all boys. They're all boys and girls, the ones who don't know how to handle themselves to me. Because I can't have an intellectual conversation when you're getting into your feels without even noticing it, but I am. It's no longer intellectual. It's not even interesting. Now I'm just waiting to get out so I can go and learn from something better. That's how it works. And I've had this one man, I thought he was confident enough to be able to handle the whole gender thing. It's because it's not about man or woman, but there's a way that some of these men consistently bring forth stupidity. And so to the bejesus of me, if I meet the ones who begin to get all in their feels and then begin to get tight, well, you know what, never mind, it's not a conversation. There's no conversation to be had. And so this is the moment you feel shut down, it's because it is happening. But you can learn how to not shut down in a judgmental way in an effort to welcome that which they don't. Subjective experiences, respect, acknowledging, and continuing to be that which is a compassionate and actually intelligent human being who does know subjective opinions that matter. So you don't want to treat someone like a little piece of shit, which is what the adaptive child part people do. So they're defensive, they're argumentative. They only want to do what they're doing because they're going to want to win this argument or they're going to lose it. So they have no capacity to move beyond black and white thinking, which is ridiculous. Because again, I'm 46. I began to understand this by the time I was a teenager. I'm not a genius. I'm just a self-aware, accountable, regulating person who said, yes, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, I promise to forgive and love. Be kind. And yeah, I'm not going to be a coward like all these people are. And then I got to college. And then I got to more professionals. And now I'm a grown woman who sees a bunch of bullshit sometimes, a lot of times. And Buddha makes fun of me for that. Because I like to make fun of them so much that he's like, okay, come on, talk about the serious stuff. Talk to your community. So with that, again, I understand where people come from. Neuroception, I know how they can get out of feeling helpless, hopeless, and how they can stop with the bullshit of control so that they won't be manipulable and persuadable by jackasses. Oh, I know all of it, but you better bet you're not going to convince anyone. So 24 hours, all you got, and you choose your A game or not. B gamers won't be here. Mediocre people in general aren't doing any of the personal spiritual growth that expands you. I'm not saying it because there's a better group or a worse group. I'm saying some people, does seem they're committed to that which is what they feel. I want to live with what feels right, not what is right. No, I want it to be what about what is right, not what feels right. But my point is, I'm all feels. But I want a world where everything works well. And I know that we always have been moving towards that. That's why I bring the human elements to the spiritual and spirituality elements. And that's why I say human evolution. It always happens. And the toughest, the strongest ones win. People who don't know how to maintain emotional steadiness under activation are not strong. The lady who said grief is so bad, that's pseudo aliveness. The reason why I actually share with you more details as I read and talk is because I'm trying to ensure you understand this is coming from a place of knowledge, and these people, they acquire the same knowledge. So polished words don't mean shit to a person who's smart. A person who's smart is not a genius because they can regurgitate material to me. They're smart because they're stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. They do not allow their ego to get inflated or insecure and become a dumbass, because it's not about image. You actively know you're becoming a dumbass by the minute if you're intellectually intelligent, which is where I am logical. So I don't like to be a moron. I actually have always not enjoyed that, but I can be one, and I'm looking for something that I want to read to you. So open-ended inquiry, there's no goal, there's no thing that you're trying to get to. That's what forces you to develop strength. Forces, I do that because I never forced it. You just get curious and that's it. Courageous, I mean, the little girl who's physically under threat is courageous. Dealing with douchebags is not something that I find courageous. I find it oh, look, there, it's basically, when's the next college student who's no longer a college student, or the next teenager who's no longer a teenager? When am I going to meet them? When am I going to meet them? So you don't actually think of it as something amazing. You think, how many more people do you get to meet when you meet them? And that's why I get to maybe find the quote that I'm looking for. I could pause you so you don't have to hear all the paper moving, but I could also just keep turning the pages. There was a quote from Ron Siegel that I really enjoyed. This is why I was looking for it, because he talks about it. He talks about how you don't want to support that which are those habits. So it's one thing that you're aware and you're understanding that you have. So like with me, I have the judgmental asshole that I've been trying to let you all know, like anybody else, flawed, imperfect, but I don't allow myself to give it, I don't fuel it. I don't diminish it. I don't deny it. I don't hide it. I don't always talk about it, because why would I? But as we move forward as a collective and a community, that's the part we get to continue expanding on conversation. So as Gabor Mate points out, not why the addiction, why the pain? Why am I not getting better? Why you're still in survival mode? That one actually is Dr. Amy Pegan. Ron Siegel, as he points out, when we are talking about acceptance is very important to talk about the difference between accepting experience as it arises in your own body, or our own body, and endorsing it, and endorsing a certain kind of behavior. And so people who endorse that which are their biologically rude, maladaptive behaviors, they're not going to move into anything different. And so their emotional immaturity, you can understand that you can be the better person because you want to, not because you have to. And it doesn't have to involve, if you don't, again, want to bring in God, it doesn't have to involve. It involves you have, once you are educated, like one of my teachers told me in one of my classes, what are you now going to do with all the knowledge? And so while some will say, oh, stop talking about them as drama kings and drama queens and stuff like that, well, some people are hooked on that which is a low frequency. Others, we have traits. So for example, I'm a nurturer, I'm a worrywart. I am a person who can have still definitely like fear from physical danger. Okay, so you'll know what your aspects are, but you're not hooked on it. So being hooked on anxiety, being hooked on drama, I've seen the people who are. They go and vent, they go and ruminate, they go and want people to hear their story. They will actively, you wouldn't say, I'm a healer, I'm a dumb. That's not nice. That's really not nice. You just learn how to understand what you're dealing with, and you have okay, look, I'm sorry, I can't hear it. So if somebody's being reactive, it means you're frustrated. Also, though, I'll say this, we always want to help each other. So let us also remember that, and that's why I try to remind myself to be kind and understanding and to not be a jackass or a judgmental asshole, because I want all my loved ones to be heard and just people in general, because again, anyone can understand what it means to be rejected and to not be heard, which is why you wouldn't want to do it to someone else. Which is also why if someone corrects you because you're doing it, you'll say, I'm so sorry. On the other hand, if it's a stranger who says, this is and they're a fucking stranger for a whole 3 years, you will play nice as the evening progresses, but you will reconfirm we're not friends and you won't become friends. And that is where the self-sovereign person knows that already. So if you want to lead, or even just call yourself an adult, there is a responsibility that comes with that title, at least for those of us who are aware and expanding and wanting to leave a legacy behind. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Love Day. It's amazing and an honor to spend it with you all for that short time. Oh, and Twin Flames, they don't send any empowered divine feminine down spiraling. We do have a lot of things that we could talk about. There's plenty of episodes from the past. You would be able to very much hear all about a lot of things. But what I can tell you is that they don't represent that, which the trending people have made it sound like. And so, yeah, they're not going to send any person who is aware of themselves and their worth down into oblivion. You also don't need them to awaken to your spiritual self. You're already awakened to yourself. But there are people who will make choices based on that which is this specific soul, and that will definitely bring them to change their life. I have a couple of women that I'm thinking about. Doesn't have to be women, but I have a couple of them, and they fit that which you will have most likely heard online and stuff like that. So I've shared with all of them that which is their journey. But I mean, again, people don't actually, like my facade friend, you can't talk sense to people who don't want to understand. If they don't own their child parts and they don't own their nervous system, they're not owning anything just yet. But okay, so it starts within you to become an adult, to be a leader. Both science and spirituality tell us that your nervous system is your leadership. Your self-awareness is your authority. Your ability to regulate yourself is your influence. When you only accept the information you like and react defensively to everything else, you're not leading, you're avoiding growth. And when someone thinks they've arrived at all conclusions, they also aren't going to grow anymore. So when argumentation begins, defensiveness begins. If you're on an awakening, expanding of your self journey and your self leader, you notice when you tighten. So it means you can notice when to do the opposite, and you'll want to do that. And again, you'll notice where you can be a better human on all occasions for all people, because emotionally immature, doesn't matter how they got there, whatever, they're immature. They don't have safety with co-regulation. And it isn't your job to make them self-regulate or be safe. There's not a job. You have no job. You're not a savior. You're not a martyr. You're not a blamer. You're not a superior. We're not any of that, which is codependent. You're simply you choosing, as Dr. Danny Siegel suggested to me, to Maria, I think you need to differentiate a little bit more. You're choosing to differentiate more because you become aware of your Mui sphere, the Mui going on, and you want to and can, under activation, be aware. It's not discipline, it's fun, because you're going to share with yourself, I go steady. I'm not uncertain, I'm not unknown, I'm not unclear, there's no physical threat, I don't need to be agitated, I don't need the activation. And after one time and two and three, so like panic attacks where I did it, again, uncomfortable, sure, but I did it. So you can do that for sure when you're around people, instead of, I'm a healer, how dare you tell me them. That's completely, I mean, again, I'll stop using my examples. I'm just saying it wasn't that hard to make choices. But I am a goody two shoes after all, and a healthy perfectionist. So what can I say? Maybe that's the reason. I got taught how to play nice, and I like playing nice because I would have liked all the kids to play nice too. See, look how selfish I am. But that's the part. Yeah, I didn't choose to become unkind and mean, and I don't actually understand jokes. While I couldn't take them when I was a kid, I learned how to. It's not personal. I was like, wait a minute. If I keep my heart open, you're right. It's not. Oh, I figured it out. Yeah. And so sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. As a kid, but as a grown up, I was like, yeah, don't come near me with bones and sticks, please. So, anyways, back to us. Both science, spirituality tell us about the nervous system leading us. Yes, your self-awareness is your authority. Your ability to regulate yourself is your influence. I've read this before, which is why I'm changing it up a little bit. When you only accept information you like and react defensively to what you don't like, you're not growing. But when you stay curious, open, and emotionally stable, even in discomfort, that's where real wisdom takes root. And in neuroscience, this is integration. In spiritual language, it is consciousness. In reality, it is simply maturity. Children and the world don't learn from what we preach. Nobody does, me included. You better bet. They learn from what we practice. Our presence, our integrity, our willingness to grow. And from those who educate us, because they just want to share with us information. And those who are authentic and transparent. And so they show us who they are. And so people who don't need to be in control, they don't need to have people tell them everything, and they don't have an end game. Control, manipulation, persuadable. The children who are afraid want a because that's what they grew up with, but also because they're scared of the unknown. Into the unknown. I'm not, but then again, I am a mystic, so I'm not, because God always has my back, and every one of his children he's got their back. Can't prove it, obviously. So with science, at least I know how to share. Yes, everyone can have the kingdom of God within them. That's from Jesus, the kingdom of God. The seed of enlightenment is within you, as Sadhguru points out, and it will blossom if you self-regulate and with your higher self use the ego and the self and say we all are flawed and imperfect and we can all make mistakes. None of us, though, have chips on our shoulders, at least not the real adulthood, the real leadership, the ones of us who know how we build a better world, which is by presence, integrity, willingness to grow, so you don't allow maladaptive patterns of behavior to be your go-to, which means drinking, drugging, fucking, or being an asshole and poking, which is why, again, when I'm with people who are immature, I stop doing that because I'm like, that's not nice. You want to be heard too. And so when people do it to me, I've accepted and leave it alone, because I don't need to train someone to be their best version. They can choose to want to, which the life of spirituality, meaning and connection beyond the solo self, gratitude, mindfulness. When people talk about God, when you want to talk to me about, how we're all connected. So it isn't effort hard to keep a relationship. It's a conscious choice of I can be immature about something with my 14-month-old ego, or I can grow up and use my prefrontal and be mature about it. And I can keep on choosing those instead of, I want life now. But obviously we can also whine about things. Just there's a difference between those who are like sharing a moment and then those who are not, and it's venting and it's the active. And that's why it's not a straightforward conversation. But also remember, if you're trying to chime in, which I have a habit, we all do, of chiming in to support, because we love each other. So we'll chime in to support, to bring the happiness, to bring the love, to bring the light, to bring the good mood in. That's what all children want, the safe environment. But the difference is we're grown-ups, so we don't need to do that, right? And so the good thing, the fun thing about that, which is every 24 hours counts. So the principal ingredient of life is love. This is from a lovely little, as we celebrate the love day. And let me just finish. Presence, integrity, willingness to grow. So if you want to guide others, you guide yourself first. Self-leadership, check. Emotional steadiness under activation, check. Emotional sovereignty, mastery, whether you call it hard or not. I didn't find it hard personally, but that's me. I know my journey. You'll know yours. If you want to inspire others, you regulate yourself first. You can't inspire others if you're not regulating, because you can't even motivate yourself in low frequency, which is what makes them leaning on you a bullshit story like my facade friend. And then they grow up to stay codependent human beings who still do this shit. which you become neutral to because, again, you get used to self-regulating and differentiating because your oversoul expands, it doesn't diminish, and people are a pattern of themselves. So once they've shown you their 5 wheelhouse, if they're not expanding, that's what they will be, and they will stagnate in that. Friendship is a sheltering tree. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And as Aristotle points out, a friend, or someone you think of as a friend, is like a second self. Someone whose pain you will feel like your own. And you will. And you learn to differentiate. And that way you don't have this empathy thing, but you are moving in compassion, which is very different and completely fun. But it's another conversation. So again, you inspire others by regulating yourself. If you want to shape the future, you evolve your own mind, heart, and you evolve to use the body. It's an embodied brain with self-regulation skills and in your ventral vagal state. So you anchor ventral energy, which is what Deb Dana and other good therapists teach other therapists to do. And while for some people this practice seems to be hard, I'm letting you know, not hard, but I've been doing it since I was a kid because I've been self-led since I was a kid. And so you'll know what your story is. But at the end of the day, embodied self-leadership is the art of remaining yourself, especially when your nervous system is lit up. It is emotional steadiness under activation, not suppression, not performance, not spiritual bypassing or somatic bypassing. It's why it's not discipline. It's the capacity to feel fully, stay present, and expand even when uncertainty, pressure, or intensity arise. This is not about controlling emotions. It's about mastering your relationship to them. It's really fun. And when activation no longer destabilizes your identity, something shifts. You stop bracing. You stop defending your depth. You stop shrinking your intensity. And being yourself becomes fun. So for me, for example, I've never shrunk any of who I am. It's always become fun to be more of me. That doesn't mean that I haven't gotten dressed up by those who are around me. Okay, so emotional sovereignty, though, is not rigid discipline. It's embodied freedom. It's nervous system fluency. It's going with the flow while being yourself from within, and it's mastery in motion. And in fact, it's dealing with uncertainty, unexpected, unwanteds with fun. Because seriously, like no catastrophe, a breakup, 2 breakups, different job, almost no job. But then again, all of us have experience with things. I'm going to tell you a story in a minute, and I might leave you hanging with another story because whatever I might have been saying flew out of my mind. So human potential expands when we can feel deeply without fragmenting. Definitely is amazing. And that's the work, that's the expansion, and that's embodied self-leadership. So it's really fun to be yourself. And the story I was going to say is everyone has a different experience with things. So we all will be afraid of the things we don't know. Bureaucratically speaking, when I went to college, I needed to learn how to fill out my application to get loans. I didn't know how. With taxes, I get help still. So I'm still a little bit frazzled, right? So everybody has different areas of stress. And when I first started marketing and would make a couple mistakes, I was definitely like, oh my God, I made a mistake. So everyone has a different personality also in that respect, but we all grow up with different examples. So I know that no matter what the circumstance, there's always been enough. And my home, we're not rich, okay, not poor, because to me, poor are those poor people out in the streets and stuff. But I've always learned, thanks to my mom, who learned it from her mom and father, how to make the best of anything, even with the most smallest amount, and to have fun with it. So holidays, anything and everything. And that's where you will always have what you need. And then I always think about, the God and stories that are beautiful when used for us to come together, obviously, but like the Good Samaritan, and I don't know if that's the one where it's a beggar, they're knocking on people's doors, and only like the poorest family basically feeds them, gives them food. And so I know that all these stories give specific visuals, but when it comes down to the human elements, which is what I'm bringing to the spirituality elements, is when you're a person who has integrity, and you have wholeness, not right or wrong. You just use your name, but you are understanding the entire conversation of tonight and or today, depending what time it is. And that love is unconditional with flaws and imperfections. All of us have them. There's no monster. No one's a monster. As for how Dharma comes about, this is very easy for me to tell you I know about, but that's for another time. And why cosmic karmic balancing, one, it took place in my life, but just knowing with God, my faith. Okay, so things always work out is what I'm trying to say. But the point is, these stories, while the past used specific visuals and ways of telling us tales, I'm going to say there's one person there, like, those who won't heal their trauma won't manifest. And I find that an erroneous statement in and of itself, but I understand what they're saying. And because they understand what full potential of a person is. However, everyone can manifest. That's the part of where 3D, 4D will manifest what they have locked in as they're stagnating. I know everything. I see things that you don't see. I'm the best of the best. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, I am seeing the ostriches with their heads in the sand, and as they come together. Those grounded in reality know what is taking place, like an academic would know. Mystic, spiritual, or mindful, it doesn't matter. We're not disconnected from what year it is, from what our environment is, from what we are looking at, from all of that which has been created. We're not making it great. We're not making it horrible. We're like, okay, so we're evolving. Okay, so we have a lot more vocabulary going on. The social construction of reality tells you exactly how shit in society begins to make sense. Meaning has a story, and I'm like, wow. And with subjective reality and the embodied brain, I can tell you it's easy to spot the groups that are following the 9 to 14 charming of Michael Stone forensic criminologist scale. And it's also easy to spot where they come from. They're all people who need Patrick Tian to heal from whatever it is. And if it's not Patrick Tian, then it will be for sure Dr. Daniel Siegel, a good therapist, Pat Ogden. Definitely, there's Diane Heller. Yeah, she's somatic experiencing, because Peter Levine's not practicing anymore. But my point is, yeah, it's enough for today. And enjoy Valentine's Day. Enjoy your loved ones. Enjoy your 24 hours. Thanks for stopping by. Let those who are self-sovereign know about IHP. And I'm pretty much everywhere and anywhere. I'm getting also Substack ready, and there's more content for PayHip coming by, so you can check out the link below, or if you're tuning in, go check out on YouTube or Instagram or Linktree or in the description. There's plenty of places where you should easily spot the PayHip link to check out what's out there for now. And with that, again, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.